Welcome back to the podcast. Today I am not tired. I'm not sore after running. I am in peak physical health right now. We got a lot of great topics coming to later, including math to celebrate today being Pi Day, which is March 14th, 314. I'm recording this March 3rd, so I'm celebrating a little early here. But great show for you today. Math, some other stuff. My god, it is 14:23 already. But, yep, everything about all that stuff after the break. Okay. So, yeah, it's Pi Day. Well, it will be Pi Day when this is released. And for those of you who do not know, the podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts. So you can go check it out there. Let's see, if I go over to Apple Podcasts, and if I search it, I bet, let's see, Jarvis Unfiltered. Let's see. Bam. First show that pops up. That's cool. Yep, so you can check it out. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Yeah, all that good stuff. And I don't know. I might have to have Marissa back on the podcast because ever since her episode, the numbers have just been falling off. Like, if I go on my phone here and go into Spotify for creators, which I'm really happy with this app. I really like it. So her episode 25 streams and downloads. And the episode where I interviewed Kira had 18 streams and downloads. And then my solo episode had 16 streams and downloads. And then the episode that, since I'm recording this the 3rd, the episode that's coming out the 4th, we'll have to see how the numbers hit on that one. Yeah, we're going to have to check that out, see how that is when those numbers come in. Which, I guess that episode's coming out in almost 12 hours now. We're getting close. I don't have to do anything since everything's just automatic. Everything's uploaded. It should, how I have it now, it's going to get released on Spotify, and then YouTube will notice that Spotify released something, and it'll upload it to YouTube for me, and then Apple Podcasts will also see that Spotify uploaded it, and so it'll automatically go to YouTube and Apple Podcasts after it is uploaded on to Spotify, which is outstanding. So today I was messing around with some of my tech stuff, and I installed this thing called Code Server into a Docker container on my one server, and I'm really happy with it so far. Really nice piece of software. It allows me to basically code right in my browser with local files I have stored on my NAS, which very fun stuff. I would go for the results from the poll from the previous episode, but that previous episode comes out tomorrow, so it's kind of awkward. Yeah, very, very awkward. But yeah, let's look at pi here. So if you don't know, 3.14159 2, what is it, 2? Let's look at pi. Let's see. 3.14159265385897932383243383279. It's probably a lot more digits than like everybody wanted. I don't know. I used to have pi memorized to like 20 digits or so. Then I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, so let's talk about some approximations of pi. The one like everybody knows is 22/7. And if we just do that division now, 22 divided by 7, we get 3.142, and it's 3.145. So it's after the third decimal digit, yeah, it's pretty off. But I mean, it's an okay approximation, because they're basically the 22 over 7 that's generally only used in grade level math. And like once you get to algebra, they'll either use pi itself or 3.14. Yeah, but another good one is 355 over 113. So if we go and divide that, we get 3.1415, which is closer because it's 3.1415. So it's for the first 4 digits, it's the same. And yeah, pretty good. And an easy way to remember the 355 over 113 is remember 113355, and then you split it up in the middle, and then you tilt it so the 113 is on the bottom and the 355 is on the top. Yeah, it's a pretty easy way to remember that one. And pi obviously goes on forever, so it's irrational, and it goes on forever, but it never repeats. That's why it's irrational. So we'll never be able to find a repeating pi, which it's kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And I should probably go for what pi is. I didn't do that. Yeah, pi is the ratio of the circle's circumference to its diameter. Okay. And we can use pi for a lot of stuff. For example, pi r squared, that's the area of a circle. Diameter multiplied by pi is the circumference. Yeah. Let's see. I wonder if anybody confused clicking on the episode where you're like, ooh, pi, P-I-E, or were you like pi, P-I, pi? Yeah, pie's fun. I really like pie. I don't know, I like apple pie. Shoe fly pie is really good. I tried that a couple years ago. Not bad. Yeah, I really like how it has all the graham on the top, and yeah, it's all like crumbly. One time I forgot I had a shoe fly pie, so it was just sitting in the fridge. I got that thing like a month later, got it out of the fridge. It's still edible, the piece I ate, but it was really dry, and it didn't taste right anymore. But no, it was still edible, which is really good. So on the last day of February, the U.S. did something. They launched an attack on this place called Iran, and I think they're running now. Like, Iran away from the bombs. But in all seriousness, this will affect oil prices. And my question is, can I use this for my bingo card? Can I, here, I have my bingo card here. I have on here, where is it? Well, there's 25 spots. I shouldn't be looking around for this. Here we go. A major disaster happens somewhere, and it takes months to clean up. Can I just be like, can I put the Iran attack for that? Can I use that for that on the bingo card? Because there's a major crisis right now. The gas prices, they just went up like 20 cents, which is really fun if you don't pay for gas. But I know a lot of people who pay for gas. This is a major crisis. So my question is, can I use this to put it down on my bingo card? Which, I mean, I can see an argument for either side. Like, it is a major crisis, but would it take months to like clean up the attacks in Iran? It It could. I mean, yeah, it could. I don't. Can we just please stop attacking nations? That's my question. Can we just do it? Like, stop it. Stop the war, guys. And it's really interesting sometimes. I don't know. When I get elected president, my thing is, we are just gonna be like, we're not going to war anymore. Because I remember this. Some country declared war on Japan, and Japan was like, no. Yeah, and there was no fighting. They were like, okay. And they packed up and left. So that was really funny. But yeah. So, if I were president, I would be like, so we're not gonna go to war anymore unless somebody attacks us. I'd be like a Switzerland type thing. Or Switzerland or Sweden? Let's see. I think it's Sweden. Sweden war policy. Let's see. Yeah, it's Sweden. A policy of neutrality. Okay. It got rid of it in 2009 when they entered defense treaties with the European Union and other Nordic countries. Ah. And it joined NATO in 2024? Really? Yeah, but as president, my presidential policy would be we wouldn't be going to war unless somebody attacked us or it was like an imminent threat to the United States. And the reason we attacked Iran was, well, the reason they said we attacked Iran was because they were going to develop a nuclear weapon. And obviously, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But they've also been saying Iran's been developing a nuclear weapon for, ever. So, I don't know. Drop your thoughts down in the commentos. Yeah, also, tell us how gas prices affected you. Did you see a large increase, small increase, no increase, decrease? Be cool to hear about. Yeah, that'd be really cool. So, yeah. So Congress. They've been up to some stuff. On my calendar I have for Congress that I load in, that they send out. It said they canceled their vote date for today, but it looks like it might still be going on. I'm not sure. They reconvened about 36 minutes ago for, what's it called? Legislative business. Yeah, there we go. And, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're up to. I could pull up the live stream right now. I don't think if I play this, you guys can hear it. Let's see. See, they're in recess subject to the call of the chair. See, I hate it when this happens. Let's see, let's go back to about 2. Okay. Okay, they're walking in. Okay, he called the House to order. Okay, and then Chaplain Kibbins praying. Sometimes she does the most, I'm not even sure if she's praying to God prayers. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay, it's Representative Jeff Crank acting as Speaker pro tempore. Let's look this up. Jeff Crank. Let's see, he represents Colorado's 5th district, and he's a Republican. Interesting. Okay, he approved the journal. Okay, and then he led the House in the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, no, my bad. By who? Okay, it was led by Mr. McGovern from Massachusetts. Okay, and then they're just doing stuff with, a House concurrent resolution. Okay, interesting. And then, okay, and then they, after a little bit, they go back into recess, subject to the call of the chair. Interesting. Okay, I'll have to watch that later. Very, very interesting. But, okay, oh, the Senate is in session too. Okay, but if we can look at House Concurrent Resolution 38, let's see what it says here. Oh, we'll look at the summary. Okay, this concurrent resolution directs the president to terminate the use of U.S. armed forces from hostilities against Iran or any part of the Iranian government or military unless a declaration of war or authorization to use military force for such purposes has been enacted. Okay, you see, that's what I was wondering when they attacked Iran. I thought in the Constitution it said the Congress had to declare war, and then I went back and looked at one of the constitutions I have. And if we look here, let me look here. Okay, wait 1 second. Okay, let me find it. I should have just marked it. Okay. Okay. Coin money, post offices. Okay. This is this is section 8 of Article 1 of the Constitution. Well, part of it would be, let's see, clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Clause 11 of section 8 of Article 1 of the Constitution. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land, water. And the first part of section 8 is the Congress shall have power to, and then it lists all the things that the Congress may have power to do. And yeah, so I'm not sure if President Trump had legal authority to invade Iran. I mean, he certainly had at his disposal the weapons and whatever. But it's done. Okay. Interesting. Oh wait, ooh. Okay, it's directing him pursuant to Section 5C of the War Powers Resolution. We could go read that. Who wants to hear about war powers? Okay. We're gonna look at the U.S. Code real quick. Okay. Ooh. War Powers and Resolution. Okay, this is U.S. Code 50 U.S.C. Oh, why is it doing stuff? Go back. Okay. 50 U.S.C. 1544. Okay. And then the title is Congressional Action. And then there's sections A, B, and C. Okay. It looks like... Okay. I think what this is saying here is that the president may send a report to Congress to ask them to declare war. And oh no, wait, no. Interesting. No, what this is saying is that within 60 calendar days after a report is submitted or is required to be submitted pursuant to Section 1543A1 of this title, whichever is earlier, the President shall terminate any use of the United States Armed Forces with respect to which such report was submitted or required to be submitted, unless Congress has declared war or has enacted a specific authorization for such use of the United States Armed Forces. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. And then the Senate today is going over H.R. 6644, the Housing for the 21st Century Act, which passed the House. Let's see, passed the House on February 9th of 2026. And okay, so now it's being considered in the Senate. Okay, interesting. So this bill revises federal housing programs, including by expanding available financing for affordable housing and providing grants for planning and community development activities. This is probably going to be a long bill then. Oh, wow. We do not have time to read this on the podcast. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so that's what the government is up to today. It looks like some of the House committees are in session too, as well. Yeah, and the House met for a pro forma session yesterday. And if you don't know what a pro forma session is, basically a pro forma session is it's not for in the form of. So it's basically not a mock trial, but like it's basically acting out a full session of a full meeting of Congress in as little time as possible. And the reason they do this is let's see, I believe it's section 2 of Article 1. I should have kept the Constitution open. Let's see, section no. Okay, at the end of Section 5 of Article 1 of the Constitution, it says, neither House, during this session of Congress, shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the two houses shall be sitting. So, what this is saying here is that neither house can adjourn unless they have the approval of the other if the adjournment's going to be more than 3 days. And this isn't the only reason they do this, but they do something called the pro forma session, which, as you remember, is Latin for in the form of, which is basically satisfies the requirement for a session, and so they don't have to adjourn. So they can do one on every fourth day to not have to get the agreement of the other house. Another reason they do this is because if the house is in recess and a vacancy happens on the Supreme Court, the president can make what's called a recess appointment, or he appoints a judge to the Supreme Court. But since Congress is in recess, the judge he appointed will be a judge on the Supreme Court and be able to weigh in on cases and decide on stuff, even though he or she hasn't had congressional approval yet. And so that's another reason they do the pro forma sessions. And so basically, here's how a pro forma session goes. So basically, at least in the House of Representatives, at least. So basically, some guy, usually a representative from like Delaware or Maryland, close to Washington, D.C., goes up and goes, the House will be in order. And then he says, the chair lays before the House a communication from the Speaker. And then the House reading clerk will read a communication from the Speaker, which will basically be, I appoint whoever as Speaker pro tempore on this day. And so then he says the prayer will be offered by so-and-so. In this current session of Congress, that would be Chaplain Kibben, who is the current chaplain of the House of Representatives. So she would go pray, say her prayer, and then the chair would then lead the House in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then he would announce to the House that the journal of the last day's proceedings was approved. And then, as you remember from the Constitution, they're allowed to approve the journal, and then I believe a member may ask for a vote on the approval of the journal. I believe that's what it is, if they disagree with it. But if not, it'll be approved without objection in that case. But then after that, he'll then announce that the House adjourns pursuant to, I forget the rule. It's because I haven't read all the House rules yet. Yeah, then they adjourn. And if I look at my calendar here, so Wednesday, March 4th, the representatives fly into D.C. They have a vote day Wednesday, a vote day Thursday, and they were going to have a vote day Friday, but that was canceled. So they'll fly in Wednesday and fly out Thursday. And then it looks like they will be adjourned all of the second week of March, so they will need the approval of the Senate for that. But they might just throw in an extra pro forma session there. But on March 16th, they are going to fly in for another vote day. So the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, those are all vote days. And then the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, they have nothing. But, let's see. So they'll also need Senate approval for that. And then, since they're taking more than 3 days off. And then the 24th through 27th, they have a vote day. There was only one pro forma session in March so far. Really? Interesting. Okay, yeah, so they should have those days, they should be in session. I'm not sure why they marked today's vote day as canceled. I'm not sure. Yeah, but let's talk more about Congress real quick. So, if you don't know, the Speaker of the House of Representatives currently is Mike Johnson. And he assumed office October 25th, 2023. And the interesting thing about this is that he was preceded by Kevin McCarthy. And to get elected to the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy had to allow any member of the House to file a motion to vacate the position of Speaker of the House, and in which case the representatives would vote on whether to have another election for the Speaker of the House. And I believe that was the first time that the Speaker of the House position was ever, forcefully vacated, which was really interesting. But, yeah, so October 25th, 2023, and he is the representative from Louisiana's 8th Congressional District, and, oh wait, nope, my bad, 4th. He was a representative for the 8th, but now he's the 4th, okay. Interesting. 5 children, his spouse is Kelly Larry, married in 1999. That's very interesting. Okay, and he met Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Well, I guess he is in constant communication with President Trump, since he's the Speaker of the House and Donald Trump's the Speaker. Not the Speaker, the President of the United States. And interesting thing, if you watched the State of the Union address, this was the first joint session of Congress I watched, and it's very interesting. So basically what happened was Mike Johnson called the House to order, and then Vice President J.D. Vance, who is also the President of the Senate, walked in, and then Mike Johnson declared the joint session of Congress to order. And it's very interesting. The speech was way too long, and I really care for the speech, but it being a joint session of Congress, that was very, very interesting. And yeah, very cool. So yeah, it was kind of cool and interesting to know. In a joint session of Congress, generally the Speaker of the House will preside, except in the case where they're counting the election for president, the electoral ballots that were transmitted sealed from the states, in which case the President of the Senate, who is the Vice President, will preside over the joint session, which I find really, really interesting. It's cool. Yeah, as you can see here from the 2024 State of the Union address, you can see Kamala Harris and Mike Johnson sitting next to each other since they're presiding over the joint session, and then you have Joe Biden in front of them at the House reading clerk's podium, delivering his remarks on the State of the Union. Interesting. Yeah. If anybody has any questions about the, Congress, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will endeavor to answer them. Yeah. Math is, really fun. I always loved math. Some people hated math. I really liked it, though. And I think the appeal to math is, it's all logic. To me, it all just makes sense. 2 plus 2 is always 4, in base 10 at least. Yeah. And it's simple, it's easy, and there's no, weird stuff going on. In history gets confusing. The English language, that gets confusing. But math was never really, really confusing. It was certainly challenging at times, but it was never confusing. And so, that's very interesting. Since it's Pi Day, we'll talk about Pythagorean and his theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So, this is a right triangle that I just drew in my head, and it's saying that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and c is obviously the length of the hypotenuse, and a and b are the lengths of the other two sides. So it's saying if we square a and we square b and we add those values together, we'll be able to form a square whose sides are length of circumference. Not circumference, hypotenuse. And so if you took the square root of c squared, you would come at the length of the hypotenuse. And if let's look this up real quick. Pythagorean, inequalities. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Pythagorean inequalities. So for right triangles, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. For acute triangles, however, a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared. And for obtuse triangles, a squared plus b squared is less than c squared. And so you can determine what kind of a triangle it is if you have the lengths of a, b, and c, and then just square them. And it's interesting to note here that the right triangle, only one of its angles is 90 degrees. And yeah, so that means since one angle of the triangle is 90 degrees, that means the rest of the angles have to add up to 50 degrees, right? Because there's 120 degrees in a triangle. Yeah, so interesting. Yes, that's my thoughts on those, but I don't really share my thoughts on those technically. It would be really cool if there was a whole big reference of all the mathematical formulas. It would be cool if I owned one of those. That'd be really cool. I'm getting thirsty, so I'm gonna pause this recording and chow down to some water. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I got some more stuff to talk about here. So I started journaling. Wow, that's really cool. And started journaling February 17th of 2026. And the first thing I wrote is regular people would start at the beginning. Better late than never, I guess. It's really cool. And then let's see if I look in here. Too far. Yeah, there's already a lot of pages. This is crazy. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, so February 27th. I went to work that day. Not to work. I went to work to get a donut, as one does. And on the reception of this donut, one of my coworkers was like, "Did you write about me in your journal yesterday?" And I was like, "No." And she seemed a little ticked off that I did not write about her in the journal, given that I saw her that day, the day before, and she lent me 2 books, which I probably should have wrote in the journal. So, the day after, which was the day I went to get that donut, I wrote my journal, that my journal would now have rules. And you might be wondering, why do you need rules to journal? And I say, why not? So, here are my journal's rules. Okay, rule 1. Well, okay, so let me tell you the format of the rules. So each rule has the number followed by journal rule, and then has sections, which you don't say section, you say clause. So first journal rule, clause 1, instead of section 1, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does, but maybe it does. So first journal rule, clause 1. Each day's entries may be revised and extended as long as A, there was an entry for that day, and B, the term of 7 days have not passed since that entry in the journal. And, okay, so the reason I added this rule was so I could go back and add about seeing her the day before. So I continued after writing in Rule 1. Pursuant to Rule 1, the entry of February 26, 2026 is revised and extended to read. And then I listed more of the stuff that had happened the day before. And so I added Rule 1 on February 27th. And what good is one rule? Because you might as well just call it the rule, not Rule 1. So on February 28th, I added Rule 2, Rule 3, and proposed Rules 4 and 5. And then on March 1st, I proposed Rules 6, 7, and 8. And you'll see why those rules are proposed and not added in a second here once I go and endeavor to read them. But the second journal rule, Clause 1. New rules may be proposed at any time. Clause 2. Each proposed rule will take effect if accepted 7 days after its proposal. Clause 3. If the term of 30 days have expired since the proposal of a rule, then that proposal will be void. Then, third journal rule, Clause 1. Each week's proceedings will be approved every 7th day of that week. Clause 2. This rule will not be so construed as to alter Rule 1. Clause 3. On the last day of every month, the preceding month entries may be approved so long as the last day is the 7th of the month. And so here I made a typo, and I meant 7th, so long as the last day is the 7th of the week, not of the month. So Rule 4, Clause 1, a rule to change Rule 3, Clause 3, and then Clause 2, replacing of the month with of the week. And so, yeah, I remedied that. And then, here we go, fifth journal rule. Clause 1. Timestamps must be providing preceding entry of text that was entered 1 hour after the preceding timestamp. Clause 2. Timestamps must be 24-hour time and will be in the local time zone. Sixth journal rule. Clause 1. A rule to revise other rules and for other purposes. Clause 2. Third journal rule, Clause 2, changed to read, This rule will not be so construed as to alter first journal rule, Clause 1. Clause 3. Fourth journal rule, Clause 1, change to read, a rule to change, third journal rule, Clause 3. And then here's the seventh journal rule, Clause 1, a rule to revise other rules and for other purposes. Clause 2. Second journal rule, Clause 2, change to read, each proposed rule will become a rule on the next day's entry after approval of the rule. Clause 3. Each day's entries may reference events from previous days so long as it does not revise or extend remarks from previous days except where first journal rule, Clause 1, allows it. And so obviously in Rule 7th here, I changed the addition of the rules process, where instead of it being effective 7 days after the proposal and approval thereof, it is effective a day after its approval. And so that's interesting to note there. And then the last but not the least rule, eighth journal rule, Clause 1. Each rule from the journal rules of 2026 will be void on the first day of the next year so long as A, in the 7 days preceding the end of the year, a proposed slate of new rules was made, and B, the proposed slate of rules is approved on the first day of the year. And so I have this rule in here, so every year I could just revisit the rules and add new rules for the years that were like year specific, and just like revisit, see if the rules were still good at the end of the year. Yeah, so that's the 8 journal rules I have, and as far as I can tell, nobody has had this big brain idea to have rules for the journal, like written down rules. Like I've looked everywhere online, and the best I can find is people have like a I write in it every day rule. Like nobody has like interesting rules and rules that were written down in their journal. And yeah, and I can show you here that these rules are coming in to good use, as on February 28th, which was a Saturday, I said, pursuant to Rule 3, Clause 1, this week's proceedings stand approved. And as we remember, third journal rule, Clause 1 is, each week's proceedings will be approved every 7th day of that week. And yeah, so the rules are coming in handy, and I actually need to take advantage of the first journal rule, Clause 1, again, to revise and extend the marks from yesterday, because yesterday I got a haircut, and I did not put it in the journal, so we'll have to add that in there. And yeah, comment down below if you have rules for your journal, and do you like my rules? Very interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, so I couldn't sleep one night, and if you have like kids with you, maybe review this section before you let your kids listen, depending on how young your kids are or whatever. But one night, it was a Wednesday, I could not fall asleep. It was terrible. I was like 1 o'clock in the morning, I was still up, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna think. And so I'm just thinking there, I'm laying in my bed and I'm thinking. Like, other people might have gotten out of their bed and, like, took a melatonin or something. I'm just laying down, thinking. And so my mind's just wandering. And I had an interesting thought. Would I regret waiting till marriage to engage in sexual intercourse? And I'll leave it as an exercise to the viewer as to whether having or engaging in sexual intercourse before marriage is wrong. I'll leave that as an exercise to you guys, and we'll maybe discuss that in a different episode, because I do not want to get into that right now, because I just don't. But yeah, so that was my question. Would I regret waiting till marriage to engage in it? And so my final consensus was, it depends. So what I finally came to is, you would regret waiting till marriage if your primary goal in having sex is to gratify yourself or give yourself pleasure. And that was because if your end goal in having sexual intercourse is to feel pleasure, then you will feel regret in waiting, because there's billions of women near your age you could have engaged in this activity with, who would have provided a similar experience of pleasure. But then the flip side of that is that, no, you wouldn't regret it if your primary goal in having sex is to gratify and or give pleasure to your spouse. And my reason for this was because if, when engaging in sexual intercourse, your goal is to love on your spouse, whether it's your wife or husband, then you won't regret it, because engaging in this activity with another person before you're married, and if you were doing that with that same goal in mind, and then you got married to somebody else who wasn't them, then you would have regretted that prior attachment pretty bad, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. Comment down below if I am wrong. I could be, for all I know. And comment anything if you want. Yeah, Spotify told me themselves. They said, tell your viewers to comment. Or listeners, I guess. So Spotify said it, so you better do it. And once again, there will be a poll on Spotify, and reply to the poll. I don't know what it's going to say yet. And on YouTube, there will be a quiz. I don't know. For the episode coming out tomorrow, that I guess would have been 10 days before this episode comes out, there was a YouTube quiz, because I found out you can do YouTube quizzes. Very interesting. And so yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so interesting thing, platypuses. They're a mammal, but they lay eggs. Can you believe that? Here's the quote of the podcast. If you judge people, you have no time to love. Mother Teresa. She was, as I remember, a Catholic nun. I just shook my microphone mount. I gotta stop doing that. Yeah, she was a Catholic nun. A lot of people say she was the best person to ever live, but we all know the best person to ever live was Jesus Christ. And if you don't agree, then yeah, so that's cool. Then we have the verse of the podcast, which comes from Colossians 3, verse 5, in the New King James Version. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth, fornication, uncleanliness, passion, evil, desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Okay, I don't really understand that verse. I think what it's saying here is you gotta put to death people like in your church who do that stuff. Interesting. Yikes. Death is not fun. Unless life is bad, in which case then death could, in fact, be fun, maybe. I don't know. Heaven is apparently better than earth. So there is that. So I think what the poll's gonna be. Okay, here's what the poll is gonna be. Do you like spaghetti spaghetti? Okay, that's the poll. There's the poll. Yes or no? Do you like spaghetti? Yeah, do you like spaghetti? And if the answer is yes, comment down below your favorite, how you like your spaghetti. Do you put meatballs in it? Do you do no meatballs? Do you use regular pasta sauce? Do you put like a gravy on it? Oh, we're eating good tonight. Oh, tomorrow I get pizza. I love my pizza. Yeah, that local joint, Domino's. Yeah, awesome sauce. Yeah, pizza. I like Hawaiian pizza. That's obviously the one with pineapples and ham. Some people say they don't like it, and some people say it's an abomination, which is obviously a lie, because there's nothing better than Hawaiian pizza. At least as pizzas go, there's stuff that's better, but for pizza varieties, Hawaiian pizza is obviously the best. And I never really like pepperoni pizza because I don't really like pepperoni. Yeah. So maybe everybody's lying about liking pepperoni pizza, because a lot of people say they don't like Hawaiian pizza, but they like pepperoni pizza. So maybe y'all are weird for liking pepperoni pizza. Yeah. But let's talk about something interesting. So, a lot of people have this thing called a gluten allergy, and that's where their body like reacts to like gluten, and that's like bread stuff. But something interesting is there's this thing called sourdough bread, and because of the way it's made, apparently gluten-free people can eat it because it's like fermented and stuff, which really kind of interesting. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah. I just ran out of stuff to talk to. That's fun. Should I just stop the episode now? I don't know. There was something I was meaning to talk about. Oh yeah, taxes. Taxes are coming up. April 15th is the deadline, unless you filed for an extension, in which case the deadline is October 15th. And if you didn't know, even if you do file for a deadline, 90% of your tax is still due on April 15th. So that is important to remember. I filed my taxes all at the beginning of February, so I was done. I did the federal one just for fun, because I had nothing for federal taken out of my paycheck, and I also didn't owe any on the federal tax. So I was kind of just like the refund said 0 and the amount I owed said 0. So it was just basically whatever. But I filed it anyway because why not? It's that one was just for fun. But state, I did get stuff back from state because I did have state withheld from my paycheck. So that was fun. Yeah, so state taxes, boom, got money back. Which, I don't understand the people who like getting a big refund for their taxes. Because in essence, what a refund is a interest-free loan from you to the government, and then paying you back after you've loaned them the money. For like, at least since December to April. I mean, at most December. Well, yeah, at least like December to like February to April. It's like the least amount of time the money was owed. And since you start paying from in January on your taxes, once on withholding, that was at the start of all of it in January. That was an interest-free loan from like January to February and March and April of the next year. So if you get a lot back, you should consider amending your W-4 with your employer. That's what I say. And you might have like a spike in refund because you have kids, because like the child tax credit, and then you get, was it $2,000 deduction per dependent, which is fun. On my taxes, I had to put somebody else can claim me as a dependent. That wasn't fun. I was like, argh. Because technically, if you don't check that box, technically you claim yourself as a dependent. That's how that works. And then if you file jointly with your spouse, then technically you also claim your spouse as a dependent as well, except they don't qualify for the $2,000 deduction. They are per person. Because it's, well, I mean per dependent. Yeah, it's really, really fun. The tax rules, I don't know, some people say they don't like doing their taxes. I love it. Like, especially just reading about the taxes and then filling out the forms and stuff. And if you go over to irs.gov, their website is one of the best websites out of all the departments of the United States government. And because I used the IRS's way, I was able to file for free through their service, and I just had to fill it all out myself, which was really fun. I'm still waiting on that state refund. I submitted my taxes a while ago, a couple weeks. I had to mail them in, because in the state of New Jersey, you can only file electronically if you have the average gross income from last year's return. But since I didn't file New Jersey state income tax last year, I didn't have my AGI from last year because I didn't file. Because I wasn't required to file last year. So I just did mail it in. And I should be able to file electronically next year and get my refund a little faster. So yeah, fun. Yeah, comment down below. Did you do your taxes? So that deadline is coming up. And yeah, you don't want to file late because then you owe interest and penalties and all sorts of stuff, crazy stuff there. And that you do not want to be owing that stuff. Yeah. So file your taxes. And next year, I'll be able to file Schedule C, which, let's see, let's look up Schedule C here. Schedule C 1040. And what Schedule C is the, let's see, here we go. IRS website. Profit or loss from business, sole proprietorship. So basically, this summer, I'm going to be starting like a mowing business type thing. And because of that, I look at the file Schedule C, which I cannot wait. Yeah, that'll be really fun. Yeah, very, very fun. So, Pie Day is today. You can celebrate by buying a pie and eating slices that are like, you can eat 3 and like a little bit of another slice. I don't know. I could probably eat like half a pie if I really put my mind to it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'd probably... Would that be gluttony though? I'm not sure. Yes. So do you like spaghetti? If you do, respond to that poll. And then, yes, have a whole lot of fun on this Pie Day. And yeah, the credits for the music I used will be in the description of the episode. And oh yeah, so Spotify has been auto-generating chapters for the episodes. I don't know. We can also, I'd like your feedback. Are the names accurate? Are they good? I don't know. I kind of let Spotify go wild. Yeah, awesome stuff here. I am most likely going to be working Pie Day. That's what it's looking like right now. I have some great guests lined up. Next month is my boss, Skip. Month after that, still getting hardened out. And then July, I have a great program scheduled about, well, okay, let me look this up for you guys. Okay, so July 1st, I'll be explaining the United States government, and then July 4th, we'll be having an Independence Day special, which will be really, really fun. And yeah, that's our ending music. Y'all just have a good day. And I don't know, hug somebody you love, or not. If you don't like hugs, I personally don't like hugs. We can get into it another time. But yeah, it's been great. See y'all. You thought that was the end? Uh-oh. Special part for people who stayed past the ending music. Yeah, this is just for you guys. Y'all are very, very special if you got it to this point. Now here's the real goodbye.